Cool.
All right, well, you want to get started?
Let's do so.
All right. What are you drinking?
Piss.
Just water.
Oh,
Just
you meant
water.
him.
Oh,
I try to stay hydrated. So
well,
Smart.
that's
You know.
smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the cup. It made it seem like some kind of weird energy drink.
it's a Star Wars solo cup.
Oh,
I went to
Old one.
yeah. Well, no, not that old actually. I guess they don't make cups like they used to. But
Guess not.
this is when I got this when I went to go see Star Wars Solo. So,
Did you camp out the theater?
no.
No. Okay.
I every time I go see a Star Wars, you don't need to camp. So I just whatever.
He just uses the force.
I do.
Meet the Pressers with Matt Mallory and Clint Macro. Brought to you by Public Safety and Education and the Trigger Pressers Union. And now, your hosts.
Welcome to Meet the Pressers. I'm Matt Mallory, and this is my esteemed co-host, Clint Macro.
This episode of Meet the Pressers is made possible with the generous support of the lawofselfdefense.com, Nikon, Shooter Technology Group, ASP, Saber Red, the Safer, Faster Defense Responder 2.0, and Lee Armory. Thank you.
Our special guest today is Andy Lander. Andy has actually been pivotal in my professional development as well as Matt's.
Yep.
Andy was one of the first people on a national scene that saw potential in me, and I want to thank you for that, Andy. Andy had worked for many years in training and education at NRA. He's one of the board members of Save the Second. You worked at Green Ops for a while as an instructor. Are you still working with Green Ops?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Kind of left Green Ops and was trying with a new company, and then I'm kind of out on my own right now. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just rattled off a few things. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now, as far as life in your career.
Right now, I'm a full-time fire instructor / instructor, contractor for the federal government. We have officers that guard federal buildings in Washington, D.C. and all over the country. Right now, the company I work for is the largest provider of armed security to the federal government. We teach everything from firearms to baton to OC to what's called national weapons detection, which is basically how to look for bombs, explosives that are coming into federal buildings. We teach defensive tactics. We teach handcuffing. We teach first aid, Red Cross. We do a little bit of TCCC type stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'm a full-time instructor.
That's awesome.
And every day I go to work, I'm teaching something. I'm teaching. Usually my thing is I'm on the range in the National Capital Region, and I'm qualifying officers that are protecting federal sites. Lately, it's been a lot of national weapons detection because right now that's probably the biggest thing that's in demand for the federal government.
Now, if you told us like specifically what company you work for, you'd have to kill us. So don't do that. But and that's full time. You're doing that full time with them for the.
Yes, I am. It's a 40-hour week. Most of the time, it's more than that. I mean, what was great about NRA, working for NRA and becoming an NRA basic certified instructor is, teaching you simple things, how to prepare for classes, what paperwork you need. And,
yep.
And when you do this full time, that's everything that they talk about in NRA is real when you get out into the real world and you're doing this for a living. So paperwork, keeping records, documenting, all that stuff. It's like it's annoying, but it's a have to. So people talk about oh my gosh, why do I have to do this paperwork? Well, there's a reason. There's a big reason. So I've had to do a number of reports on officers that got hurt, or everything from. If an officer gets a paper cut, we have to write literally a 3-page document on what happened, because they have certain insurances that cover that. And if an officer hurts himself going down to a kneeling position or something like that, we have to write a huge report: who, what, when, where, and why. It's crazy, but I've gotten pretty good at it. And I will say my time working for NRA really prepared me for everything that I'm doing now, because to me it's cake. I mean, it's literally
awesome.
cake. So,
is there anything specifically that you teach there that you've had to get more training on in order to be a little bit more well-rounded, or did you have experience in everything that they're offering? Because some of the stuff you had mentioned, I teach myself, and I know in the beginning when I had clients approach me about teaching certain things, I wanted to get a national certification. So I went out and got my ASP instructor certification, my Safari Land instructor certification on baton and handcuffing and all that stuff. I'm a New York State DCGS MPTC certified law enforcement instructor. So all of that came into that. Have you done any other training or other things before or after the NRA that prepared you for the position that you're in now?
yeah, I went down to Flat Sea. My thing is, I really like teaching firearms, but also I really like teaching national weapons detection. That is something that you can. I mean, we're talking about people that are trying to sneak things into buildings. I mean, I've got videos that I can't show you, but of officers that literally, guys walk into buildings and just pull out a handgun, shoot officers in the head, and kill them. And up in New York actually is where that one of that main incidents was. Teaching how officers, it's a lot of common sense, but honestly, today's world, there's not a lot of common sense out there. So teaching simple things, what do you do if you find there's a big difference between if a guy's walking in with a pocket knife, pocket knife that he has in a little clip-on pocket, and all of a sudden he walks in, our officer's supposed to say, we're looking for weapons and explosives. Do you have any on you today? And they have a knife clipped in their pocket. Versus all of a sudden you find a big old pig sticker coming out of their boot. How do you react? Things like bombs. What makes up a bomb? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that make up a bomb. You can easily get bomb components and things like that. And things that are simple to people, like, why do I care if a guy sneaks one round of 9mm in the building or forgets? Well, it matters. All of a sudden that guy, the machines that are used, the metal detectors, my record is getting 19 rounds of 9mm into one building. Because we have to do penetration tests. We have to actually go in where the officers are working. We have to pretend to get like items in and things like that. My record is getting in 19 rounds of 9mm on one machine. Those machines are calibrated differently. So the officers always look at me and they go, well, why does it matter? The guy had 3 rounds of 9mm. I'm like, yeah, well, what kind of gun do you carry? I carry a Glock 17. And I said, well, that guy just, for every day he's brought in 1 round of 9mm. And he's done that for the last 2 months. And he came up to you harmlessly and said, hey, what kind of gun do you carry? And you just said, oh, I carry a Glock 17.
Yep.
Well, all of a sudden he snuck in a couple springs and he snuck in a couple magazine bodies. All he's got to do is find out when you're roving. Of course, he can just easily watch you when you go on a roving by yourself, hit you over the head, and suddenly he's got a Glock 17. He's got 18 rounds of 9mm magazines that he can just go around and do whatever he wants to do. So I really like teaching that program. It's an eye opener for a lot of folks, because a lot of people, look at stuff and and it's so funny because when I go to airports now, I used to hate TSA and I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys suck. And now I feel bad for them because, I hear so many, oh my gosh, why do these people complain because I had a bottle of water? Well, a bottle of water under X-ray looks exactly like a liquid binary explosive, things like that. So, the X-ray machines that they use at TSA are the exact same ones we use at work. And the X-ray machines only see really in 5 colors. They see in green, blue, and orange, and black and white. And, orange is, quote, organic, green is inorganic, and blue is metals. And people always say, well, oh my gosh, they went into my bag and they were looking for my, they found my turkey sandwich. Well, yeah, your turkey sandwich looks a lot like a freaking stick of C4, whether you know it or not.
Line of C4. Yep.
It's funny because.
So would my bag of apples that got me detained for a few minutes one time in where was that? Milwaukee. Would that have looked like grenades or something?
Yeah, that shows up as an orange organic. That's
Huh.
that's basically all explosives show up as orange.
Okay.
So now the people, the X-ray machine works in. They say organic and organics. Organic would be an example of C4, but it's also an example of an apple. Okay, inorganic would be an example of salt. Okay, or aluminum, which is funny because that's not inorganic, that's a metal. But the machine doesn't actually see in as far as inorganic, organic, it sees in density. So if you look at like a high dense material like a metal, it's going to show up as blue. So if you have a
Hmm.
knife blade, it shows up as blue. But if you have a tuna can, which is aluminum, it's going to show up as green. If you have glass, that's going to show up as green. A lot of people say, "Well, what's wrong with glass?" Well, glass is a component of shrapnel. I mean, that's you
Hmm.
know that could be something that if it does go off. So if you've got an orange, a green, and a bunch of wires like headphones, and
Yeah.
you have a cell phone in there, that's a bomb. I mean, that literally looks like a bomb under X-ray. So we teach our officers to look for the four components, what's called PIs: the power, initiator, explosive, and switch. Power being like a battery. I mean, a watch battery. Initiator would be a
Yeah.
blasting cap, and then explosive is any orange material, anything orange, and that's an apple, that's an
Wow.
orange, that's a piece of candy, that's um, a bottle of water. That's pretty much anything. And then switch could be something as simple as a mousetrap. So
Hmm.
you hear all these people that always complain is, oh my gosh, they found my bushel of apples.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most people don't walk onto an airplane with a bushel of apples.
Right.
Yeah,
No
I-
offense, Clint. So
Right. True.
It was a bag. It wasn't a bushel, but I see your point. Yeah, I think
So-
part of the problem is too, most average everyday law-abiding gun owners, which are usually the people that bitch about this kind of stuff, we don't think like the bad guys, right? So we wouldn't think, oh, well, this would be something I'd want to bring in, or I would like to, or use as a tool of aggression. I think that's
Well-
part of it too.
But in contrary, I
fun-
mean, that's exactly what you're trying to teach these officers is to
Yeah.
think like the bad guys. Yeah, that's
Well, what's funny in that aspect is people are pretty boring. You go into a federal building and the lady puts down her purse. What's really funny is everybody has the same items in their purse. Everybody has the same items in a bag. Everybody has the same items in a briefcase, whether it's a change purse, whether it's I mean, I hate to say this, lady drops her purse on the bin. You see an umbrella, you see maxi pads or tampons. You see change purse. You see possibly something that looks like candy. You see car keys. So literally everybody's boring because we all have the same stuff. So if you come up to the machine and you drop a bunch of apples or something on the machine, it looks different. So we don't teach our officers to look for bad stuff. What we teach our officers is to look for everything. You have to be able to identify everything in that bag. And if all of a sudden, if it's out of the norm, like a bag of apples, I hate to say that, Clint, but if you drop a bag of apples, they're going to be like, what's that? And then they have to go in there and say, oh, that's a bag of apples. It's not they're giving you crap because you have a bag of apples. They don't see that every 5 minutes. But for a guy that's coming in, they see the same thing over and over again, and it's that all of a sudden something out of the ordinary that they look at and say, oh, this is different. And a lot of times we teach our officers that, if you can't identify something, you got to go figure out what it is. One, so when the next person comes in, you can actually say, I know what that is, or, and these officers only get about 16 TSA, I think it's 40 hours of training, which actually isn't a lot.
no.
Our officers get about 16 hours, probably 4 of that is on x-ray. So, and they're only working with the items that we have on hand. So, that's a cool program because it does a lot of good, and it's pretty interesting. So
I think TSA came out with a study. They said that they're wrong, or they miss 95% of the stuff or something to that extent. I guess I thought TSA actually put that out themselves. Yeah, it goes to training, right? More training. They missed my.
well,
I was going to say they missed my baton on the way down to Orlando this past June, and then they caught it on the way back. I had my ASP friction baton, my duty baton, in the bag as I had got done recertifying as an ASP instructor in Buffalo, New York, and flew right from Buffalo to Orlando. And they missed it on the way down, but caught it on the way back.
Yeah, I mean TSA, from what I understand, those guys are only supposed to be looking at that screen for like 15 minutes. And then they have to rotate. So you imagine you have an officer that's on that post for an hour, or TSA guy, and he's just mundanely looking at. I mean, you look at bag after bag after bag. I mean, you're getting bored, and you're just going to let things through and things like that. I mean, in our case, we've had people stop people for CDs and stuff like that because they didn't know what they were. So, I wouldn't blame the person. I mean, the person that's at the machine is literally doing their job. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem is most people. I had a guy up in New York. It was funny. I was down in Manhattan, and the guy lost his crap because the officer told him to take his shoes off and put them on the X-ray machine. The guy just blew. I mean, he was a lawyer, and I literally looked at the guy, and I didn't say anything, but I'm literally just like, I wanted to point down the street and say, 3 blocks from here, there were 2 huge buildings that were brought down by guys in airplanes with box cutters. And America forgets, and anyway, I'll get off that soapbox.
No, it's a good point with that. Sometimes we got to sink back to our can't control everything, and how we handle what we can't control dictates our character or shows our character. That was good. That should go on a meme.
That should. That's a T-shirt right there. That's like Yoda Kung Fu stuff.
I got to write that down or I'll forget. Wait, it's recorded.
Yeah, so that's interesting because when you talk about the amount of training that people get too, it depends also. Not only is boredom a factor and like maybe how long the line is with TSA, but also just how long have they been doing the gig. I mean, true expertise is gained through on the job training, and you can't expect every single person to be as proficient at their job with just a standard amount of training. Like they have to continue to do it and get better. As you said, been there, done that, seen that. They've seen that before, then they're probably more likely to identify it the second time around.
Yeah. I mean, our officers that stand posts and stuff like that, they're only supposed to be armed on duty for no more than 12 hours. And I've walked on a post and I've looked at guys and I said, how long have you been on post? And they said 20 hours.
Jeez.
So yeah, life happens.
True.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a poster or a bumper sticker or a
T-shirt.
Life happens.
There's this attorney in our area, and it's his last name's Schmidt, so it's Schmidt Happens.
Oh, see, that's clever.
Very clever.
Hi, this is Carrie Sloan from We the Female, and you are watching Meet the Pressers, where Matt and Clint didn't even have to edit my potty mouth before publishing my interview.
Meet the Pressers.
Save the Second came about late May when there were some issues going on with the NRA as far as board members resigning and some issues with people being accused of things and things like that. Save the Second is actually an organization that's looking for basically to hold the NRA accountable and be able to say, look, you have a job to do and you need to do it. I got kind of tied up with a gentleman named Rob Pincus, who's a very well-known firearms instructor, and 2 other guys, Ron Carter, Anthony Garcia, another gentleman, Steve Hoback, who decided to step down from the board. But I worked with Steve at NRA for a few years. And Save the Second is literally a kind of a watchdog group as far as trying to hold NRA accountable for what they're doing. And it's kind of taken off. It's literally exploded. We've had a lot of people following us. We've had a lot of articles written about us. We've been in some major publications, and but our goals is to basically reform the NRA. We need to reduce the board size of the NRA. I mean, if you look at the NRA board, you have 76 board members, and if you look at any other organization, that's way too big. That's just way too big. It's almost gotten to the point where it's gotten so big that the reason why it's gotten big is so it doesn't actually interfere with what's going on at the top. I mean, name me another organization where the guy in charge isn't in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the president of the NRA who's not in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Oliver North was the president. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Oliver North was the president, and basically he went to Wayne LaPierre, the XO, and said, hey, we're going to do this a little different. And Wayne said, no, we're not. See ya. You're gone. Bye. And the NRA is an organization that's supposed to be run by the board. I mean, the members of the association elect the board, and then the board is supposed to speak on your behalf as a member. And right now it's gotten to the point where you have members electing board members, whether they know what's going on, or they elect somebody because they're just well known, or they're a famous athlete or something like that, and all of a sudden you have this recipe where nothing's getting done, and it's just become an area where the guys at the top are just literally getting, I'd say, this filthy rich, and not doing anything, and using and saying, well, I've been doing this for 40 years, you should let me continue to do it. Well, it's great, what you did 20 years ago was outstanding, but what are you doing for us now? I mean, look what's going on in Virginia. Virginia, the NRA headquarters is in Virginia, and all of a sudden you have all this stuff that got passed, or excuse me, all these people got elected. It's going to turn into a mini California. NRA's home headquarters is in Virginia, and the NRA is literally, I said this on a podcast last night, they're literally whittling sticks for their marshmallows.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. We're all of us here today, and many other Americans across the country, we have a lot of respect for what the NRA has done in the past. And each of us here, you especially, have a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and personal investment in that organization. And so ultimately we want to see that organization come out stronger at the other side. But, I can speak specifically here in Pennsylvania from as far as Second Amendment advocacy is concerned. The NRA has not been very helpful here. And in some cases has been a problem. And so, as new leadership gets in place, whatever that is, whatever department in NRA we're speaking of, hopefully we'll have an opportunity to work together and move things forward, as opposed to just being pushed off. But it's interesting what you said about in Virginia. In Virginia, there were not really any good Republican candidates, or I shouldn't even just say Republican. There weren't any pro-gun, pro-liberty candidates that were being pushed. And that's in their backyard. If I want to help fix my friend's house, if it's on fire, I need to make sure my house isn't on fire. Otherwise, right, my hose won't hook up to the side of the house, right? So you got to pay attention to what's going on in your backyard. And for an organization that is largely, at least in the media, a legislative watchdog, to use that term, I'm surprised that was able to take place without a huge fight from Fairfax in your state.
Yeah. I think a lot of stuff's going on right now with the organization financially. And I think that had a big play to go with it. But the other thing is the NRA has always done a very good job at trying to push out other organizations, hey, we're the big dog on the group. I mean, Virginia Citizens Defense League. I've never been a fan. I've never been a fan of Virginia Citizens Defense League. I've never liked the people that have kind of run that organization. But I'll tell you right now, they're doing a lot. I mean, as far as they're doing more than the NRA is. I mean, the NRA shows up and they're literally like, what do we do? It's they're putting people on the ground. They're taking people to lobby day. They're doing all this other stuff. And you have these other organizations that the NRA is just like, oh, well, we are the Second Amendment. No, that's not how this works.
Second Amendment.
The NRA, my time there spent, I loved it. I met some people that most people would never could even say that they would have interacted with. I love my coworkers, well, with some exception, but, I definitely towards the end saw some stuff that I just didn't agree with. And I had to leave. And when I left, I can tell you right now, I remember going to people's offices, not from education training, but there were lawyers that I walked into his office, and they cried, and I cried with them. And I was like, it's not, they were upset that I was leaving, but I'm upset because I knew what I was leaving. I was leaving behind, and that the things were going to go downhill. And I do really believe in the organization. I don't believe in the people that are running it. Period. That's it.
Said.
Your tattoo was the what made me decide on the Trigger Pressers logo. That was kind of like the start,
nice.
The inspiration, the bolt face. I thought that was the coolest thing when I saw it. Like, he got a bolt face. He must really love ARs. And I thought, this is kind of cool. Maybe I could make a logo based around a bolt face. And although my logo is not quite a bolt face, that's kind of what it represents. I appreciate.
Did I ever tell you my Uber story on that?
No.
Oh.
So when I was at NRA, needed some money because NRA didn't pay that well. I started driving for Uber, and I was picking people up, and this was actually when Uber had their policy. You can't have any armed drivers or anything like that. But of course, it's Andy. I'm going to have a Glock 26 on my ankle. I'm going to have another gun in my side. Kept an AR in the back. I'm not kidding. It's not kidding.
Wow.
And I'm driving, and I used to play this game. It was see if I can get home without having to pick up a rider. That was literally my game, and it never worked out. I never made it home. I always had to turn off Uber. Anyway, so I was leaving NRA one day, and I got a hit. Go over to the movie theater, pick up some people. So I went over there, and these two men and a lady get in the car, and they say, "We're going to DC." And I just literally looked over and I said, I can't take you to DC. And they said, "Why not? You're Uber." I said, I cannot take you to the District of Columbia. I'm sorry. And that's one of my cries with Uber is the fact that when you're a driver, they don't tell you where the end destination is. They just tell you pick somebody up and go and take them somewhere. I said, "Look, I can't take you to DC." And the guy sitting next to me was like, "Why can't you take us to DC?" I said, "I just can't. I can't take you there. I'm sorry. Find another Uber driver, blah, blah, blah." And all of a sudden he saw my tattoo. Hold on. He saw my tattoo and he goes, "Is that a boldface?" And I said, "No." And he was like, he goes, "No, I just built a 300 blackout. I know what a boldface is." And I said, I'm like sitting there running through my head going, I got to come up with some story.
Yeah.
What do I say? And I said, "No, it's not." I said, "No, it's not a bull. Well, if it's not a bullface, what is it?" I said,
A bullface.
"My great grandfather was a watch builder, and he designed this to work on some pocket watches, and it made my family a lot of money. And I got it tattooed there because I like my great grandfather." And he looked at me, he goes, "You're full of shit." I said, "I can't take you to DC. I'm sorry, get out of my car." That was the last time I ever drove for Uber.
Yeah.
And that was I think my fourth ride. But
Oh wow.
yeah, that's true. Definite true story.
Thanks for watching Meet the Pressers. This has been an awesome time and with an awesome guest, Andy Lander. Glad to catch up with you, Andy. And,
How many guns you got sitting next to you, brother? That's the fourth one.
My heart I brought mine out, so it's his second that he showed us. My heart just Twitter-pated. Hey, watch that muzzle.
I am. I absolutely am.
Pointed at us.
Yeah, this camera is being run remote.
I love that. It's funny, when I went to USCCA and I recorded those videos with Kevin, some of the muzzles were at the camera, and I'm like, that feels comfortable on this end, but watching it, it's kind of like, trying to move out of the muzzle.
Yeah. But, what's funny is, I don't know if you recognize this. I picked this up about a half a year ago. This is a California Highway Patrol 4006 Smith & Wesson, tactical Smith & Wesson. It's an all-steel gun. It's decocker only.
See that?
So it's like a SIG. But no, I don't know why. This is my actual home defense gun. I just thought I would interrupt you while you were doing.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'll pull mine out.
Oh, we're gonna play show and tell.
Anyway, awesome having you on, Andy, and good catching up with you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. Anytime I can do anything for you, let me know.
Likewise.
Will do. Thanks for the invite.
No problem. Stay safe.
You too.
Look forward to hearing about your pup and how he's doing.
He's doing well. He's, like I said, he got out this morning. He was trying to run around. I'm like, you're a week out of surgery. You can't be doing that. So,
amen.
Anyway.
All right. Stay safe, brother.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
We have a lot of sponsors that made this show possible.
Make sure you check them out and give them your business.
Perfect.
Good. All right. Okay.
This episode of Meet the Pressers is made possible with the generous support of thelawofselfdefense.com, Nikon, Shooter Technology Group, ASP, Saber Red, the Safer, Faster Defense Responder 2.0, and Lee Armory. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the show. Let me just do that.
What are we doing?
Thanks for watching the show. Then you do be sure you click the bell and all that other shit.
Okay, good.
Thanks for watching the show.
Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and click that little bell to make sure you know when our next episode's uploaded.
Until next time.
Adieu.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
Thank you for watching Meet the Pressers.